Okay, so obviously the clear is all totally dry that it's had the coat. Everything's gone off nicely now. It's been given literally 4 or 5 days now to really go off, because what I'm worried about is sometimes you can put decals on and if your paintwork isn't completely dry, then what happens is as they shrink back, your decals can crack. So it's always well worth letting them dry off. Now, we've covered this a lot before, but we'll just sort of recap over this. What we've got here is some warm water just down in front. We've got Micro Industries Set and Sol. Obviously there is others available, but I do like these ones. The Set one is the one that softens the decal itself, okay? The Micro, the Sol, which is the red one, is the actual finishing one, and what that does is basically weld it down. It makes it all show shrivelly and horrible and really suckers in nicely, okay? So if you just need a softener to really sort of soften it up, if you've got a complex curve that it goes over, certainly use the Set one first. If you're on a flat surface and it goes down okay, then just pop after it really with the red one. So what we're going to do, we're going to pre-treat the area we're going to do. So we're going to do this one run down the back here. It's quite an important one. This is the one that is the walkway on top of the engine. So just generous coat of that all over. Okay, we've got the decal, putting it down face side down. Okay, now obviously this tub isn't quite long enough. So what we're going to do is just pop him in face side down. Now the reason for putting it down face side down is it's going to want to curl up on itself, okay? If you put it face down, it stops it, so it stops it cracking or breaking actually on the carrier film. So we've just got that soaking in there nicely. Okay, once you've had it in there for a bit, you can then turn him over. And the warmer the water is, the quicker it happens. Try and avoid using very hot water, because otherwise the decal can actually stretch a little bit. And obviously cold water, it will just take forever for it to sort of come off the carrier film. So okay, what we're going to do, we'll just rebrush the surface it's going onto, because it's dried off just a little bit. Okay, so we're right along that surface there, and then all we're going to do is grab our decal. Okay. Just in between your finger and thumb, we're just going to try and move it, and already we've got a crack in this one. So you might be able to see it just down here. We've actually got a crack, which isn't good. Alright, but we're not going to worry about it because we can just sort of jigsaw piece this together again. Now it may be because my water tub's not quite big enough. Okay, so now it's coming free of the paper. So what we'll do, we'll just hold it down roughly on the top of where it's going to be, okay? We're going to slide a little bit off the front. See, this one's breaking all over the place. Okay, we'll slide this front part off first, okay, and put it in position. Okay, then we're just going to come back with the second piece. Same thing, then all we're going to do, touch down the front end, hold it, and then slide the paper off the back, okay, and as it goes down it should lay down pretty much over it. Now we just need to square this one off a little bit, okay, so we're making right, so we're a little bit about halfway there now. So what we've done the top half and everything gone around it. We've still yet to do the underside, but the top, as you can probably see if we move you in a bit closer, you've actually got loads and loads of decals on it. Now don't be sort of too put off by this, because unlike the 1/48 version, if you buy the Hasegawa kit, all these decals are individuals and they literally go on forever. These are long strip ones to put in. Trouble with those is you get a lot of carrier film going in between. Two options here, you could chop them up into smaller and put them all on, okay, or if you're using your softeners and you're happy with how it's going, what you can do is just go around afterwards, like down in here. We bring the camera in nice and close. Okay, if we just bring this down here, what you can see is you've actually got the carrier film, so you can take your blade of your knife, okay, nice and sharp. Once this is dried on with its first coat, okay, and then just go along, sit the blade in the panel lines, okay, and just drag it through. Okay, just run them around in all of them, wherever you see a panel line and the carrier film goes over, just cut them in. Now this is going to do two things. Okay, first of all, it'll obviously make the panel line show through, so when we put the wash on it won't be smoothed over. Okay, and then secondly, if you have got any little silvering underneath it, by silvering it's just trapped air under here, it will help it get through. Obviously if you do see some little silvering marks, just put a very, very light scratch onto it. So we'll just carry this one all the way to the end. Okay, so we want to go around all of these ones as we go. So I'll just take care of this curved one up here and just do it lightly. You don't want to be digging into the paint and scratching your way through and things like that. It's supposed to be a very light little touch. Okay, so once we're on like that, take your setting solution again. I say this is the sole. Don't be confused where it's set and sole. The sole is the last one that goes on. Okay, nice clean brush full again, and what we're going to do is just rub it right the way over. And what will happen is it will soften up this decal just down in here and help join it in. Now it's really important that you do this, otherwise, as I said, when you come along you will put a gloss coat over this. This will harden and lay flat over this, and then obviously the detail won't go through. Same with riveting. You can come along with a needle and just prick the little rivet details and they'll show through if they're not showing through. Sometimes the decals are nice and thin, they'll be okay. If they're a little bit thick, then you can find that it doesn't happen. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to carry on, I'm going to rescribe everywhere on this one with the blade, especially down here where it says marines and things like that. Make sure it's all conformed down and they're all sitting okay. If when we're happy with that, what we'll do is we'll give this a complete coat of gloss over the top, okay? That's really just to soften it down again and make sure it's all nice and level, and it will protect the decals from any weathering and everything else we're going to do. As soon as that's dry, we'll crack on and do the underside as well. We'll get that underside done, and then when we're done with that, we can get on and give it a wash and start to bring it together. Okay, so there we go. You're looking the business now. It really does bring it alive as soon as you get some decals on this one. Now I have to handle it a bit carefully. So it's been given a couple of hours to dry now, and what this does, it gives you the look where you can see to make sure that all the decals have gone down into those panel lines. Now the thing is, have a good look around it and just make sure that they haven't covered over again. This is what we're saying about rescribing it and popping a knife down, okay? If you do find out you have a real problem decal and it really doesn't want to sit down, a little trick you can use. Take some Tamiya X20A. Now this is their acrylic thinners, and very carefully brush it over and then leave it. Okay, it's got a lot more aggressive than something like the set and soles are, and really do make them melt down, but don't touch them because they literally turn to like a gluey substance rather than a decal, and if you put your finger in it, you will notice it will attach to your finger and pull straight off. So just be a little bit careful with it how you use it. But if you do find out you do have a particularly tricky decal, that's a great little tip. So we've gone around and we've really checking to make sure. We've got a couple of little areas that I'd like to improve. We've got the little scab plate down here. It's sort of curved over it rather than shrunk to it, but this type of things we can deal with a little bit later on. But we're just checking to make sure we got no silvering that's, you know, really sort of obvious to see. Now the way to do it at this point is to really catch it in the light, look down it, different angles, and just look for shiny spots, okay? And just look for anything that's a little bit bright, especially where you've got large amounts of carrier film around like the AJ here and around the Marines, because what happens is at the moment it doesn't really stand out too much. But trust me, as soon as you put a flat coat on it, it will jump out at you. But there again, it's still not a massive problem. You can go back, just get the old softeners out again, a little bit of a knife, get in there and just cut them open and reset the decal, and you'll still be okay. So don't panic about it if they suddenly come along and you think, oh look, you know, I've got loads of silver in. Got a couple of little things I need to take care of. Down here we've got a split on the carrier film here. Just move that out of the way, it's quite a large lump to get in. Just down here you might be able to see we've got a little split, so we'll touch that in with some paint afterwards. So I need to take care of that one. Apart from that, I must admit they've all gone absolutely lovely. We've had no problems with them at all. So what we're going to do now is totally dry and we're all happy with it. We're just going to clear a little bit of space. Just move this out of the way a little bit. Okay, and what we're going to do is give this a coat of gloss. Now you could use any type of gloss you like. The purpose of this really is to give a nice glossy finish all over, so you've got the decals and everything else will blend through, okay? So then when you're using weathering washes and things like that, they'll just go in the grooves and have no problem with it. Difference to the way I'm going to do it is, we're going to use our 0.2mm airbrush. I've got some, this is just clear in here, which is a form of gloss, you know, as I said, we've spoken about some various videos before, but you can get the old type like this one, which is nice and clear, or I've got it here as well, you've got the new type. The new type is white, it's a little bit thinner, it smells a lot nicer, to be honest, but it really does do the same thing. Even though this one's got a white, milky look to it, it will dry crystal clear, so don't panic about it too much if you suddenly think, oh, hold on a minute. Okay, if you can get hold of the old stuff, it's just a little bit nicer because it's clear. So what we're going to do is just pour a couple of mil in here without tipping it everywhere like I've just done. Okay, just going to clear off. Rub down there. Okay, so compressor should be on already. So we just check our flow. All we're going to do, very high air pressure. This is maxed out at 30 psi, around about 35 psi in all honesty, because what it will do is give this a satin finish. Because the difference being is I want to give this a little bit of a bite. Okay, by a bite I just mean a little bit of texture rather than being glossy. Because when we come along with the washes, I want them to stick on this a little bit. So literally, it will give it a grimed up look. So we're just going to put a coat over this. Okay. Make sure you're all nice and clean first. But what you'll do is, as you put this over, look at the decal, and you should see it sort of disappear underneath it. Don't keep this on so it's looking soaking wet and all the rest of it. But what we're doing, this will seal in the decal. It's always the trouble. Never put in a full colour cup of this stuff, otherwise you end up spilling. Just miss the wing by a fraction. Okay. But what you're trying to do is get rid of, also, if you've got little marks around the decal, perhaps where the fluid has been and things like that, then this will get rid of it. It's the good thing with actually using X28. If you give it a quick brush over afterwards, when everything's dry, just literally a quick rub round, it will get rid of any marks. Sometimes you get little water marks and things like that. If you use thinners, it will lose those, and those will go. So we just pop this over this side, like so. We're happy how that is. Okay, we'll lift it up nice and carefully, flip around. Okay, and then just down on the other side. Okay, and we're just looking at the same time as we do this to make sure we're all happy how things are. We're making sure we've got no real problems at this stage, because obviously we can stop and take care of them. Make sure you do both sides. We're going to get in this top area as well. We're starting to cloud up now because I've got the extractor on. Okay, but that will do for the minute. What we'll do, let that dry just for about 5 minutes, flip it over, do the same to the underside, give it an hour or two totally to dry off, and then we can crack on.